and welcome to episode 2 of The Sober Connection. In this episode, I will be chatting to a lady who I started following when I was close to quitting back in 2022. She posts regularly on Instagram, and her posts always made me laugh. I knew that I could rely on her, even in my darkest days, just to get some laughter out of me. So, in my first year of sobriety, we connected. We did a few lives together on Instagram, and we even both posed half naked for a charity alcohol calendar back in the day. I have a card stuck to my fridge, which I have here, which she sent to me from the other side of the world when I turned a year sober. And that really shows how amazing and supportive the sober online community is. That's the kind of thing that I mean when I talk about that support that we get. I'm absolutely delighted to introduce you all to the lovely Kate Taylor. Hey, Kate.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. It's nearly nighttime here and it's nearly morning there, so I think the sun's going from me and coming to you, but I'm really well, thank you.
Good, good. Thank you so much for jumping on here with me. I really appreciate you taking the time to have a chat. So yeah, it's been a while. We've sort of known each other. We've kind of known each other for about three years now. So it's pretty cool to see where we're both at now compared to where we were, back then. So I wanted to start off. Just with, if you could just tell the listeners a little bit about your drinking career, and at what point you decided that it was becoming a bit of a problem that you might need to address.
Well, it will take me about 2 hours to talk about my drinking career because it started when I was about 14 and it was just something that I was desperate to do. It was something I'd seen parents do. I grew up in a really busy house. There were always parties, always really cool people at our house, and cocktails and blue and yellow and purple drinks and gin and tonics with lemon and wine, and everyone's smoking and music. And it was like, I cannot wait to be a grown up. I cannot wait to be one of these people. So for me, it was always about when. And as soon as I was old enough, I'm 5'11", so I've always been tall. So by the time I was 14, I was 5'9", 5'10", and I was just able to walk in and get drinks for my friends who were a lot smaller than me. So we would just go and drink beers in the park, put our ghetto blasters on, smoke, and just hang out until it ran out, basically. But I kind of, as I grew up, I remember going into the pub that I'd been going into for a few years and saying, I'm never coming back in here because I'm finally legal. I'm able to drink legally. So I'm going to go to the really cool bars. And they were like, Kate, are you serious? You've been coming in here for years. I was like, I know, but we didn't get caught. And, then I kind of elevated and I went to the nicer pubs, and then I got a job in media and I was writing a Disney comic in London, and it was all very cool, very media people, and we all went for beers at lunch and then wine after work. And I got into this habit of going out every night because it was like, why wouldn't I? I spent all my money on drinking, and from Monday to Friday, I'd go out after work for at least a couple of hours. And then on the weekends, I'd meet friends and we would drink. And I look back and I think I was literally drinking every night. And I never questioned it because it was seeing different groups of friends. Everyone was out. It was fun. I would get really drunk. I'd black out back then. I'd have whole patches of the night I just couldn't remember. And I remember thinking, it's been a good night when I wake up and I've got no bruises. I'm in my house, in my bed, and I look at my phone and there are no angry messages and no one to apologize to. And you'd think that would have been a red flag, by the time I'm in my 20s, thinking, oh, that was a good night because I can relax about it. I didn't do anything embarrassing or hurt myself. But there were a lot of nights that were like that, obviously. And I don't know why I didn't ever think it's time to stop, but it was me. It was so much part of my personality. It was my identity. It was just who I was, and I loved it. I love being the girl who could outdrink the boys. I love being the one that everyone phoned and who was always up for going out, And it was scary because I had this kind of Jekyll and Hyde thing. It was like Russian roulette. I would go out and I didn't know how I was going to respond to the alcohol. Sometimes I could drink 2 bottles of wine and be absolutely fine. And sometimes I'd have a couple of glasses and I could tell I was slurring. And then I would just black out or just go mad. And I never knew what was causing it, or why that would happen sometimes and not. So it was actually quite scary for me. I think I enjoyed the idea of going out and the kind of preloading before I went out more than I actually did, because I'd get nervous about what would happen. But
Mm.
honestly, that just carried on, and it carried on through my 20s and into my 30s. And I moved country. I moved to live in New York for a bit. And I just found I gravitated towards the other people that drank. And I just did the same thing. I just kept moving, feeling like I was a bit lost. I was waiting to find something, but never allowing myself the opportunity to grow mentally. I was like mentally stunted, because you
Yeah.
don't grow if you're drinking every night. You're having fun, but you're not growing at all or changing. I had zero hobbies, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I was like, what will I do without it? There's literally
Yeah.
nothing. So I kept going. And actually, it wasn't until I got pregnant with my son that I stopped for 9 months. And that was when I was living in Italy. But then the mummy wine culture came along, and I was in the expat community. As soon as he was born, people would turn up with bottles of wine and champagne. And it was just, I was hoping things would change, and I was feeling definitely by then alcohol was not good for me. I was nervous about how much I was drinking. I was drinking every night. I was never a day drinker. So I had that in the back of my mind going, oh, you're not an alcoholic. There's no problem. You don't drink during the day.
Yeah.
But I've since realized that even if you drink once a week and it causes problems, drinking is causing problems. It's literally that simple. It's not
Yeah.
about how much and how often. It's about how, what alcohol is doing to your quality of life, to your physical and mental health. And I then had another child, had another 9 months off, and then went straight back into it. By this time, I'm in kind of my early 30s. And then I got into the whole playground thing, and everyone going, oh, we deserve it. Let's get all the kids together and come to someone's house or go to the pub and we'll drink while the kids play. And I just went with it, because I was like, these are my people. This is what, we can juggle everything. And I wasn't really noticing that I still hadn't really evolved from that 20-year-old. You know, it, nothing had changed. I had changed physically, but nothing else had changed. I hadn't grown into the person that I wanted to be. I had a good career, because I've got a creative career, and I've managed to do well at that, as a writer, throughout all of this. And I never was off work because of drinking, and I was very reliable. So I managed to do that. So I kind of tricked myself into thinking everything was fine. And then I've kind of forgotten the question, Abby, but I think you said what made you. Have we run out of time yet?
No. You've got all the time in the world.
So then, and it got just pretty crappy for the last couple of years. I really piled on the weight. I mean, not loads and loads of weight, but I didn't look healthy. I was just feeling like, I remember every day I woke up and my first thought was negative. Why have you done it again? Why do you
Mm.
keep doing this to yourself? I rarely looked in the mirror. It was negative. The self-talk was just horrible. I definitely didn't love myself. I wasn't proud of myself. And then, of course, the temptation to drink when you're feeling like that and to disappear is overwhelming. So you carry on. And I just got into this sort of spiral. I remember my daughter bringing me a glass of wine on Mother's Day for breakfast and saying, I brought you your favorite drink, Mummy. And I just thought, my heart broke into a million pieces. So it was just
Yeah.
mortifying.
Yeah.
And it was things like that. I knew I was rushing bedtime because I wanted to get downstairs and open a bottle of wine, and all these things like, you're a bad mum. What are you doing to yourself? You're a waste of space. And then one night, and it was a week before Christmas, about 3.5 years ago, I was on my own drinking in front of the TV, and I pulled out my phone, and I'd had probably a couple of bottles of wine, and I turned the camera on myself, and I just, for about 7 or 8 minutes, was just sobbing into the camera, and I was saying, this isn't you. What are you doing? This stuff is poison. You've got to stop. This has to be the end. You can't go on like this. And the next morning, I sort of remembered I'd done it. I couldn't watch the whole thing, but I watched a little bit of it. And it's very hard. I've never seen myself drunk because obviously I've never recorded myself. And if anyone had ever had videos, it would be delete it immediately. I certainly wouldn't have watched it. But this was like me talking to me, drunk me talking to sober me, begging myself to stop. And it was a smack around the face. And it was actually exactly what I needed. And I have not had a sip of alcohol since that night.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've seen that video, and I did the same, exactly the same thing. So I've talked about when my daughter told me when she was 9 years old, she told me that she just didn't like it when she was scared when I drank, and she didn't like my voice. It wasn't that I was violent, it was just my slurred voice, it just kind of freaked her out. I got pretty loud when I was drunk. I was pretty obnoxious, to be honest. But yeah, I got drunk that night and just sat there drinking. I had some wines, and then I had some gins, and then I recorded myself exactly the same and watching the TV and just asking for help and just saying, I don't want to be this parent. I've tried to quit. I can't quit. I need help. And I posted it on Facebook. I think I posted it on the 1 Year No Beer Facebook group, and then tottled off to bed and passed out, and then woke up in the morning, and I had so many messages from people going, wow, this is really kind of quite strong, and kind of gives other people a bit of a pause. So yeah, I mean, we've both done that, and I think it's so powerful to video yourself drunk. It's just yeah, like you said, you don't normally see yourself drunk, especially not in the depths of despair with it. You might have seen yourself having a great old time, laughing and joking and hiding that despair. But when you actually see, I mean, I feel so sad when I see that video now. It took me a long time to actually be able to watch the whole thing. I watch it now, and I just feel so sad for her, that person that I was. It's just, and then I look at where I'm at now, and I'm like, yes, I did it, and I'm not that person anymore, and you can feel proud about it now, So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's powerful.
did you post it? Like, it's amazing that you posted that online. Like, I'm
Mm.
blown away by that, because even in my drunken stupor I would never have shared it with anyone. Like, even then, I can hardly remember recording it. That is really brave. And maybe it's like we knew we had to do something drastic, because if we didn't, it would just go back. So, I mean, posting it is taking it one step further, I think. And I think
Yeah,
that's
well, I was drunk. I didn't know what I was doing.
so I think even drunk, we knew that we needed something to change.
Mm.
By posting it, you were sort of saying, I can't pretend this didn't happen. I can't
Yeah,
quietly delete it and carry on.
yeah.
That's a real cry for help, isn't it? And it's
Yeah, well, and it
powerful.
was. Yeah, it was. And I mean, it still took me 3.5 years of trying to quit. I mean, that was going to be one of my questions. Did you just decide and that was it? Or was it a long process? For me, it was a 4 year process of trying to quit before I actually finally had my last hangover. But it was definitely the catalyst, that the kick up the bum that I needed to, right, this is, the kids are noticing. You gotta sort yourself out. The kids know that you're drinking too much. And then, they were 10, 9 and 7, I think. So real formative times. And yeah, it's just I've got to change.
Yeah, well, I did try about 6 months before that, and I did about 8 weeks. And then it was a sunny day, and I just drank that evening. And I knew I was going to, I think, if I look back on it. And I joined a kind of 100-day program, and I had people like supporting me and like an online community. But and then of course I just said, I've drunk, I'm really ashamed, I'm going to go. But the difference is that when I tried the first time, and I only tried that once and failed, and the next time was the video, and that was the last time. But I felt like I was not being allowed something, like I was being punished. Like, you can't have the thing that you want. You mustn't have the thing you want. You're a nightmare. You can't handle it. And it felt like a punishment, and I still thought celebrating and barbecues and seeing your friends should involve alcohol, but I just wasn't allowed it. the second time, I got this anger inside me against alcohol. I got so angry. I stopped saying it was all my fault. I started looking at society and the way alcohol had been thrown at me left, right, and center. And I just thought it's not all my fault. It's everywhere. It's so difficult. I actually don't want this. I want to create this persona, this superwoman who's fighting for her life, for her kids, for her relationships, for her career, for herself against alcohol. And I looked at it from a completely different perspective. And actually, I didn't then sit there going, you can't drink, you can't drink. I actually thought, I don't want it. Who could I be without it? What am I capable of? I'm putting me first. And it was definitely the difference in those two mindsets that got me here today. Because the first time, I mean, if you're telling yourself you're punishing yourself and you're not drinking because you've been punishing yourself, it's just a catastrophe waiting to happen, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to be long before you just go, oh, well. So, yeah, I tried once, failed, and then drank heavily for 6 months, again, like every night. The worst of all, because I felt like a disappointment as well. So,
Yeah, yeah, no, it's yeah, that mindset shift is definitely, I think for me, I was an all or nothing kind of person, and yeah, I had two realizations. One of them was that I either had to be all or nothing, and that idea of just never drinking again was just absolutely terrifying because, as you said before, it's so entwined in your identity. It's what you do. I was drinking at the age of 14, so this was 26, 27 years of this is what I do, what else? No hobbies, nothing. I just drink. I just literally just drink. That's all I do. And as sad as it is, I mean, it's the case for a lot of people. And I think that's why a lot of people don't take that first step, because it is terrifying to move away from what you've done your whole life. So it's, just what will your life look like? People just, they're in their comfort zone. This is how their life looks, and anything
their
outside of
uncomfort
that.
zone, as it
What's that,
turned out.
sorry?
Their uncomfort zone, as it turned
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
The
exactly.
inner
But we
zone.
grow when we get out of our comfort zone, right? So that's where personal growth comes from. But it was the all or nothing for me. And then the other thing was that it was the first drink that got me into trouble. So if I just don't have that first drink, then I can't have any more drinks after that, because I haven't had that initial one. The first drink was always the thing that led me to blackout. It wasn't the third or fourth drink, because I had to have that first one, to get the ball rolling, kind of thing. So, yeah, once I had that mindset shift that if I just don't have that first drink, I might be okay, and I've, and I still live by that. Even when I get cravings, I'm like, but that one drink will lead to all of this destruction, at the end of the day, or another spiraling down into a daily drinking, and I just can't risk it. So for me, that was once I got that thought, that's the shift that I need. So when do you think that you've started feeling confident that you would never drink again? So obviously you've quit. You quit just before Christmas too, right?
Yeah.
So
In
you
the
got
deep
through
end.
Christmas, the New Year, and then at what stage? I mean, for me, the most I ever did before I quit for good was I got to 89 days. I didn't even make 90. I was at the airport flying to Peru on the 90th day, and me and my friend had cocktails, so I didn't even make it to 90 days. But I know for me, that final time that I quit, I kind of felt confident from the get-go, because I think I was just so over it that I was like, no, I'm done. But at what point was it for you that you kind of thought like, no, I've got this, like I'm good?
It's a good question. I've never really thought about it before, but I would guess it was around the sort of 6, 7 months, because before that, I still couldn't imagine myself as a non-drinker. I didn't have anything to do. I didn't know how my life would pan out, and I stopped. And the first 6 months was definitely, I just stayed at home. I didn't, I mean, I'd meet friends for lunch or brunch or walk with them, and I went out for a few evening meals, but I didn't want to be out. I just wanted to focus on my day count. And that's what I did. And that's when I realized I literally have no hobbies, and I have not become any version of the person that I wanted to be or I was capable of being. So I had to sort of it takes time to accept everything that's happened. My body was also exhausted. I didn't have big withdrawals. I mean, I had like night sweats for a few nights, but it wasn't anything big. I wasn't drinking like a liter of vodka a night, but my body, I was exhausted. I slept so much for about the first year, if not more. I was exhausted, and I kept saying, this is your body has managed to keep you alive. You need to, it's time you pay it back, look after it, whatever it needs. And when I needed to sleep, I'd sleep. I'd have naps. Luckily, I was a freelancer at that time, so I could sleep for 2 hours in the day. And it was just, I just had to just sit with myself and be in a safe place and go, don't drink. And that was the initial thing. So once I kind of crawled out of my cave and started to think about what it was I could do, I joined an evening art course at my local college. I joined three actually, one after the other, and did like pottery and life drawing and something else I can't remember now, printmaking. And I started doing things, and I started to feel more confident. I started to look so much better. And I realized that I started to really like myself. And I did things like I'd say to myself in the mirror, I love you, which the first time I did it made me burst into tears. And I'm not a crier, but it made me realize that I hadn't for so long. And I started buying myself treats at the end of every week I was sober. I bought myself something, and then every month, just to say, you deserve this, you're doing this, you are worthy, you are worth so much, you deserve to be happy, you shouldn't be ashamed of yourself. And just that lifting of all that shame and guilt. I started to get used to waking up positive instead of that awful, why have you done it again? You're ridiculous, pathetic, useless. And it just started to change. And I think about sort of 6, 7, 8 months, I started to think, I actually like this. This isn't, I don't have to try for this anymore. And actually, I was quite scared at the thought of accidentally having a sip of alcohol. Like I didn't want to do that. So I knew that I wasn't craving alcohol anymore. I wasn't having to say to myself every evening, you can't have it, don't have a drink, do something else. And that's when I started to think I'm becoming the person that I used to dream of when I was laying in bed in the morning, feeling absolutely crap. And I go, why? I want to be this other version of myself. And it's like, I am actually becoming that person now. And I'm proud of it and I love it. And that's when I thought this could be forever. Why would I ever go back? And I don't think I ever say I'll never drink again, but I really don't think I will, because I don't want to. I hate it. Like, I really hate this stuff now. It's not even, I don't have to try. Someone said to me, if you could just drink one night and no one would ever know. It's like, no, I don't think you understand. Like, I know what's in that now. I never actually looked at what was in alcohol. I didn't understand that when I thought I was feeling really cool and I love that lightheaded feeling, it's because my brain was being poisoned and it didn't understand what was going on. That's the effect of being drunk, is poisoning
Yeah.
yourself. And once I
Yeah.
started to really learn about the facts and listen to podcasts like this, talk to people, I joined Instagram. I didn't even put a photo on at the beginning. I just went on and thought maybe I'll find some connection on here because I feel like I need to get that. And I was missing that because I never did AA or anything like that. So I joined Instagram and it all just started to fall into place, really slowly. I felt like I'd knocked my house down and I was carefully, slowly building it up around me, brick by brick, very carefully. And I was making choices that I was thinking about and that I was proud of and that I wanted to be permanent. And I've just carried on doing that, really.
Yeah, yeah. I think the support from the sober community. I know for me, I mean, you were in London, so and where I was in small town New Zealand, where 95% of people drink. So it's very isolating if you're one of that 5%. I don't actually think I ever found anybody else that was sober, or it just felt like I was the only one. So I ended up having to lean into that online sober community because I didn't have any real people to sort of support me. So I mean, It's been amazing. The friend I've actually made friendships from it. People that I'll probably never ever meet on the other side of the world, but just so good to have that support, right?
Yeah. It's been amazing. And I'm actually not in London now. I now live in Shropshire, which is a really rural part of the UK. And but I none of my friends didn't drink either. It was pretty much me. I know someone who hardly ever drinks, and I used to say, "Oh, you're so boring. Just have one," like it was a treat. And she'd go, "No, I really don't want it." And now I look back, I'm like, "I'm so sorry." But yeah, having that community definitely helped me stay on the straight and narrow. And for all of my talk of hibernating and thinking about myself and taking it slow, I actually having that community made it fun. I met friends. I now meet friends, and I'm meeting friends like in a couple of weeks for a walk. I've been away for weekends with people. I have literally genuinely some of my favorite people I've met through Instagram, which I would never have believed.
Yeah.
But it's been an absolute, I mean, it changed the whole process for me. It became fun, interesting, inspiring, rather than lonely and difficult. So I'm with you 100% on that. And there are always going to be some people who are not who they seem, and there are always going to be people who are actually on Instagram to try and make money and because they're vain or whatever. But it's such a small percentage of people. There are so many incredible people out there who are genuine and lovely and just exactly the kind of people that I wanted to meet. I just couldn't. And it doesn't
Mm.
even matter. I will never meet a lot of them in person because I just won't. But I speak to them. I have Zooms with them, and they're some of my best friends. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very cool. I know for me that first year of sobriety, I really leaned into it, and I used to do lives. There was a bunch of us. There was kind of like a little bit of a gang, and your content was always amazing. I always used to look up to your content, just be like, oh my god, how does she think of these things? It's just so funny, so humorous, like something so dark, but just making it funny and just making it relatable, and then other people, yeah, I've got a few other people coming on here in the next few weeks, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, I just really leaned into it. And then once I hit, or just before I hit a year sober, I had like a massive life change where I actually left my marriage and I moved to a new town where I didn't know anybody. And obviously that life stuff kind of happened, and I pulled back and I didn't get as involved in the sober community, for a good, I don't know, year and a half, maybe even 2 years. So it's only recently that I've been in a position to kind of come back and start again. And now it's kind of changed from back in the day, 3 years ago. It was, I needed the sober community because I just needed that support, and I needed people to give me a kick up the bum if I was struggling or whatever. And now it's transitioned to, I'm the help, and that's just so beautiful. It's come full circle. And now, you and me are actually, we're helping people that are just starting out. And it's, how good is that? That's something so negative, that was such a negative thing in our lives, that can now actually just bring positivity to other people and hope, and that they can also get to this point too. Like even in your darkest days, you can look at people, and it seems, that when I hit 1,000 days, that was just amazing for me, because I couldn't go 10 days without a drink 3-4 years ago. And now I've hit 1,000 days, and it's, yeah, it was just mind blowing, So yeah, being able to see people so far ahead, and it feels like you'll never get there, but you do get there. So it's really beautiful. So
You do,
yeah.
and I love what you've just said because it's so true, and you don't feel like a burden. People are very much like, please, if you need, just call, just send me a message. There's always someone online as well because it's all over the world, so there's always someone awake. You could just get online and then just literally help, or I need a laugh, I need to remember why I'm doing this, any of that stuff. And I did lean on people, and it was so out of my comfort zone to do that. Like, it sounds like it was for you as well, the way that you told me about recording yourself and saying I need help. Asking for help doesn't come naturally to a lot of people who are full of shame and guilt. But actually, I did, and I knew I wasn't burdening them. I knew they genuinely wanted to help. And as you say, they said, people did this for me, and now I'm doing it for you. And as you say, now we're doing it and helping other people, whether it's just by putting content up that people read and go, that makes so much sense to me, or doing podcasts or whatever. I love the way that this community just keeps growing and people keep giving, and it becomes
Mm.
bigger and more help, and more people seem to be joining it and choosing sobriety. And it's just so positive. As you say, it was such a negative thing and it's turned into such a positive thing in my life that I'm so proud of. And I don't sit here going, I wish I'd done it earlier. Oh, the mistakes I've made. I go, I am me and I love me now. And I've done what I've done, but who I'm going to be is so much better than who I was going to be, and that is fantastic. That's
Yeah.
everything, really.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. I was going to ask you, so I've got to turn my page. I've got a list of questions. What were the surprising things that you discovered about yourself when you quit?
Oh, goodness me. I've got to think about that. I mean, I realized that I like being on my own. I like peace and quiet. I really thought that I had to be surrounded by people all the time, and it
Yeah.
isn't true. I really love my own company, and I actually went on holiday on my own last year. I said to my husband, I never go away anymore. I used to love traveling alone. I've traveled loads on my own. And he went, well, do it. And I went, okay. And I got online and booked a flight leaving 2 days later. And I went to Spain for 5 days. He's like, okay, gosh.
See
I
ya.
loved it. Exactly. I was like, whoosh, she's gone. Bye. But it was very much like I really enjoyed that again. And it reminded me that I like peace and quiet. I like to follow my own daily pattern. I like to contemplate things. And one thing I've learned is that I've never planned anything in my life. I've always just been, what's happening, do it, see what happens after. And I was always so proud of that. But actually, I decided to kind of change my career, go back into full-time working. I made this plan while I was away on my own, and I came back and I put it into action, and it happened. It's like, what? This happens? This is possible? This is crazy. And most people just live like that, and they have ideas, and then they go, well, if I do this, then this will happen. I have never done that, and I'm in my 40s and I've never done that.
Yeah.
So that was really surprising, and a really nice surprise that I could actually plan and rely on myself to take the steps that would get me somewhere, and it
Yeah.
worked. And then I just think, I think that, and I also realized that I've really changed my friendship group. Before it was like anyone who was up for a drink would be someone that I was friends with. Whereas now I've really stepped back. I don't take any crap. Anytime I get any sort of vibe that something is not good for me, I just step away, and I don't feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
Before it was like collecting people. It didn't matter. As long as there were people there, it didn't matter. But now my friends, every time I get a text or my phone rings, I know it's someone I want to speak to. And that has really changed how I feel, and how confident I am. And I feel really loved and supported. Whereas before I was just sort of flying through life, high-fiving people really, and not
Yeah.
remembering if I've met them before or whatever. And now I've got a really lovely group of friends all over the world, and from places, from school from the age of 6, and then people I've met from Instagram, and I love that, and I never had that before. So that's not really something in me that I've discovered, but it's definitely something that has changed in my life that I really, really value now, that I didn't realize I didn't have.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I think when you start drinking at the age of 14, I mean, you sort of said that you didn't realize that you like your peace and quiet. Well, of course, because you've never had it from 14 to 40. You were surrounded by people, and you thought that was the vibe that you enjoyed, right? So, yeah, I'm the same. I didn't realize, but I'm actually very introverted, and I really struggle. My social battery is like, and then I just need to sit in a dark room for a while and just process and just have some time. And I live 2 hours away from the girl. So I've got three daughters, and I live 2 hours away from their dad. So school holidays at the moment, they're with their dad for 7 or 8 days, and it just gives me time to just have by myself. And I think at the start, when I first moved down here, school holidays would hit, they'd go to their dad's, and I would just cry the whole time because I was like, I miss them so much. I'm so lonely. What am I going to do? I was only a year sober, and I just didn't know who I was yet. And then now I'm just like, I boot them out the door. and I see ya. mum's got mum's got shit to do. So it's very different. But the same. Moving down here, I didn't know anybody at all. My two of my daughters were down here at school, and I just moved down here because it's close to the ocean. There's a mountain in the background. It's really beautiful part of New Zealand, and but I didn't know anybody, and I joined a gym. And I've honestly met some of the best people I've ever met in my life. They're just so supportive, and they're my biggest cheerleaders, and they're so proud of everything that I do. They're so proud of me doing this right now. I've just, it's really, really cool. And it's a very small group of people, but they're my people, and it's just really beautiful just to have those friendships. And nobody that I've met in the last 3 years has ever met drunk Abi. And I'm just so proud of that. Like, it's just, nobody has ever seen me drunk. And that's cool. We'll keep it that way.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? It's nice to build new friendships when you're an adult. It's quite difficult to do. And I thought it would be impossible without alcohol and actually I've spoken to a couple of men who have given up, and they're like, it's really hard because men don't even go, let's go for coffee. It's a very macho thing to just go to the pub, and that's all we ever suggest. If we meet someone we like, it's like, yeah, let's go watch the football and have a drink. So I know it's even harder, but communities like this for men and women, it's just incredible because you do connect with people, and there's more and more, and then you already have this instant thing in common that's quite big. You don't have to explain yourself, but you already know what kind of stuff you've been through, and it doesn't matter how old you are, how much you drank before, whether you went to AA, whether you went into rehab. Oh, you only drank that's not, it doesn't matter. It's just like, you've got this relationship with alcohol that you had to walk away from it, and you instantly have this bond, and it's really personal, and it's really strong. And when you start with that, you just automatically feel this kinship with people, don't you? And you've just got so much to talk about instantly. So it's very easy. I thought it would be awkward, and it's just not, is it?
Yeah, I love the fact that with other people that have gone through this journey, there's no judgment. So you could tell the worst story that just very morally wrong that you did when you were drunk, and everyone's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
We've all been
Exactly.
there. It's like acceptance. So
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
people that don't have that, didn't have that problem with alcohol would completely look at you sideways and maybe never talk to you again. But
Run.
yeah,
Yeah.
just it's very accepted. So
Yeah.
I found that very good because there's definitely some things that I did that sober me absolutely would never have done, but
Oh.
drunk me just didn't give a shit. So
It's
yeah.
nice to unburden those things, because when you keep things inside, it makes you feel like you're keeping a secret because you've done something bad. And yes, we did do things that were bad, but alcohol changes you. It changes the chemistry of your brain. It makes you do things that you would never do sober. But to be able to say it, and I've got a couple of people I meet regularly for a walk, and we meet in the middle of all three of us, and we offload these stories, and it's exactly like you say. We'll say them, and other people go, oh, I've done like, that was like the beginning of the night. Then I did this, and none of us are kind of going, oh my gosh. We're all like, yeah, I can just imagine. And then it's like, I feel so much lighter having spoken to someone who just hasn't judged me, and I've been able to share it. And it's like a release. It's like that's out there now. And the person I've told hasn't told me off or shouted or gone and told everyone and everyone's looking at me. They just said, yeah, yeah, I've done similar.
Yeah. I'll raise you one better story. What for you is the best part of being sober?
The best part of being sober is definitely that I don't have the negativity inside of me. I don't wake up with a negative thought as my first thought every day. I'm also reliable. My kids are so happy I don't drink. They know they can rely on me. They can call me. My son's 16 now, so he can call me, and I can just drive and pick him up. I'm
Yeah.
always the same. I don't have these waves of, oh, I'm like this or that, and then recovering and then acting weird because I'm trying to prove I can be a super mum even though I'm hungover. And I'm just me. I'm just Kate all the time. And I'm growing and changing in a slow and safe way, in a healthy way, and my weight is better, my face is better, my brain is better, my memories even come back, which I never thought it would. It was awful by the end of my drinking. And I'm remembering things from when I was a kid now that I'd completely forgotten about. I'm just reliable and I'm proud of myself. And those two things alone have made me a completely different person, a completely different version of myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really beautiful, eh? The transformation that, yeah, no, it's very cool, very cool. What would you say has been the hardest?
The hardest has been dealing with friendships, I
Mm,
think,
yeah,
because
100%.
mine were all based on alcohol. And then, I saw friends in the pub who hadn't told me they were going, and I walked past, walking the dog and seen them and gone, that's nice. But then I've gone to myself, would I have gone anyway? And actually realizing that they have to understand and learn to adapt to a new Kate as well. It's not just about me. This is my journey. Everyone needs to support me. They're like, well, what's happened? And we've lost a friend. And you've got to give them that space. And my husband said to me, have you asked them out? I'm like, no. Well, then why are you feeling upset they haven't asked you? It's got to be a group thing. And actually the people who I'm no longer really friends with, I'm perfectly happy with that. But it was difficult at the beginning. I felt alone, but I
Mm,
didn't realize that actually I needed to go through that in order to find my real friends, and the people who are my real friends are still there. And as I said, some of those are people I went to school with when I was 6, 7. Some of them are people I've known for a couple of years, but my friendship group now is stronger than it's ever been in my life.
yeah.
But that was the scariest part, the hardest part, just thinking I'm of no value to them anymore. And the jealousy of them all going out and me just being at home, that I found that tricky. But again, I talked it through with people and got some great advice, and it was okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, I mean, I've now looked back, and one of the main reasons I think why I took so long to actually quit, sort of 4 years, I think it was because I got lonely. I got massive FOMO. As soon as anybody knew that I wasn't drinking, the invitations would dry up, or I'd hear about something that happened after the weekend, and I'd be like, oh, I didn't get invited to that, and you'd sort of feel really, really disappointed, really hurt by that, I think. And then just kind of at some point I just realized that I wanted this more than I wanted that. So it was, kind of that I'm leaning more towards actually a sober life, and everything else that's going on in the background, it's not relevant to me. I'm going to have to just move away from it and not worry about FOMO. I mean, I'd hate going out now. I'm sort of back in bed on the couch with a cup of tea by 9 o'clock these days, so it's fine. But I think there's really there is a period of time where you actually grieve your previous life, and that's something that doesn't really get talked about that much. Is that, especially as we've said, we're drinking since the age of 14, heavily. I was definitely heavily drinking for at least the last 10 years of it. Grieving that past life is actually something that, yeah, just really was unexpected. But yeah, once you start feeling all your feelings and you're not numbing them anymore, it's kind of like, what is this feeling that I'm feeling? And it's just a sadness for that life that you did have that you don't want anymore, but it's still, yeah, you've got to kind of try and replace it with something else. So yeah, it's
Well,
it's interesting.
it's like when you break up with someone, even though you know it's the right thing to do, it's hard and you miss
Mm,
them. because you've been with them for years, and
Yeah.
it, it is hard, and it's saying goodbye to something that you've become really familiar with. You know, it's exactly the same as that. But I love what you just said about I wanted this more than I wanted that. It's a really good way to look at it. I think a really healthy way, and that will help a lot of people who are listening, I think, if they think of it that way, because it always outweighs it, sobriety for me always outweighs drinking, and it has done on so many levels. And it just gets stronger and stronger every day you manage to get through, and then every week and every month. And I'm still being surprised now. I'm still able to talk about it with massive enthusiasm at 3.5 years, you know? It doesn't just get boring and then you're like, oh, well, the novelty's worn off. It doesn't work like that. It just gets
Yeah.
better and better, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I think when you're so proud of something, you can talk about it for, I'm so proud of where I'm at now. I mean, I just feel like this is a success story compared to where I was at 4 years ago and where I'm at now. I'm just a totally different person, and like you said, I like myself now, and I look at myself in the mirror, and sometimes I don't like what I see, but I like the person that I am, and I think I've become a genuine friend to people, and I've still got things that I need to work on. Of course, we all do, but I'm not numbing it now. Whereas before I was masking it with alcohol. Now I can still work on it. I'm aware of it. I'm not great at it, but I'm still working on it, and perseverance is key, and if I've learned anything in this last 4 years, it's perseverance is absolutely what you need to do. So
And
yeah.
life is about evolving and growing. And as soon as you stop doing that in any capacity in life, it gets boring. Humans are meant to evolve, learn, grow, change. We're meant to do that. Forget alcohol. That's just meant to be what we're meant to do. It's human nature. So the fact that we're all still learning is great. It's exactly as it should be. The fact that we're changing, great. You're on the right track. Haven't got
Yeah.
everything sorted out? Of course not. I don't believe anyone who says they do, that they're not doing enough if they've got everything sorted out.
Yeah.
So I think we're
Yeah.
exactly where we should be, and we've got a lot of stories to tell, and we've learned a lot. And that's the positive I've taken from this, is that yes, maybe I regret a lot of my drinking, but do you know what? I had the experience of going through that and coming out the other side. And you can only do that when you've gone into that storm and been in there and sat in there on your own thinking, how the hell do I get out of this? Can I get out? And then you get out, and it gives you this unique view of life where you think, I've done that, I can do anything. And that's what I think the people that I've met who have done this, they've got this glow about them, they've got this edge to them. And they're some of the nicest, most interesting people I've ever met. I think it's because of that.
Yeah, which is interesting, right? Because back when we were drinking, we thought sober people were boring. Like I'm hungover every Sunday, lying on my couch, ignoring my kids. But sober people are the boring ones. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
I was terrible to sober people back when I was drinking. I thought that they were the worst. But
Of course.
yeah,
I had to
here
think
we
that,
are.
otherwise it shone a light on really what was going on, didn't it? But
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Kate, it's been so good. I just wanted to finish off with I wondered if you had two or three just golden nuggets of wisdom that you think the listeners would get some benefit from.
well, one of them I mentioned to you, and it's about remembering that person you wanted to be. Don't ever lose sight of that person that you wanted to be when you were laying there in bed feeling like crap, and you're like, "Oh, that's what I want. I want to be this kind of person." And don't lose sight of it. Keep going for it, because even by doing nothing, you're getting closer to that person, and it will go in ebbs and flows and ups and downs and roundabouts, and you'll be sad, then you'll be happy, and all this stuff will happen. But all of our emotions are there for a reason, and finally you can feel them and learn from them. So try and enjoy it, even the ones that are tough. Try and enjoy them. Think, I know these are real feelings now. You know, it's quite enlightening, really. um what else, what else can I give you? Well, I think if you get, I don't like calling them like triggers or even cravings, really. I think of them as associations. So whenever I felt like I wanted to drink, I'd go, it's because of a person, a time, a place, a situation. my brain has automatically associated it to alcohol, and that's what's making me want to drink. So try and remember that rather than just think it's come from nowhere, you just want to drink. If you work out what it is that's making you feel that way, you can get away from it. Get outside, walk, just get moving and get away until that feeling goes away, because it really doesn't last for long. And if you can't get outside, if you've got little kids, try and go and have a bath or something. Just get out of the kitchen or the living room. I think those would probably be my two bits of advice.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think, yeah, definitely, learning what causes you to drink. It's, there's always a reason. It's not. So, I mean, a lot of it is habit as well, but even that is, that's an association, right? So,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah. No, honestly, it's been so lovely to talk to you. It's,
Oh, it
yeah,
has
very
been.
cool. Honored
And
that you are my first guest on here. So,
I've really missed you when you took a break, but I knew you were doing your stuff. But you look fantastic, and I love that you're doing this podcast. I know it's going to be a success. And thank you so much for having me on. I feel properly honoured to be your first
oh,
guest.
I know, no, the honor is all mine. Honestly, I just, yeah, I knew that we would have a good chat. So it's, yeah, it's been lovely reconnecting with you, and yeah, I look forward to putting this out to the world, and hopefully we get some good feedback from it. So, thank you, Kate. Where can people find you? Obviously, you're on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm just on Instagram actually. So I'm walking the straight line on Instagram, and it's all kinds of stuff. But I'm very light-hearted. I'm not serious. I'm not a sober coach or trying to sell anything. I'm just sort of waxing lyrical about what's going on in my life in a bit of a
Yeah, no, it's
humorous way.
your posts are amazing. I'll pop your contact details or your Instagram handle. I'll put it down in the notes. But yeah, I'll just finish off. So thank you all for your time. Hopefully, if you've got this far, you've enjoyed what we've talked about today. Obviously, all of my contact details are down in the general information, and just wanted to give a shout out to Riverside, that's the software. So I'm completely new to podcasting, literally spent the last 2 weeks learning how to podcast and edit, and I'm definitely not perfect yet, but by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, if you're thinking about doing this yourself, then Riverside's details are in the general information down the bottom as well. But yeah, next week we will just have a short tips and tricks. I haven't quite worked out the subject yet, but we will get some tips and tricks for you, and then the following week we will have another guest. So have a great day. Kate, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next time.